It was late, far later than I realized. My room was dimly lit by the pale glow of my phone screen as I scrolled mindlessly, feeling my eyelids grow heavier with every passing second. The day had been long, exhausting, and all I wanted was to talk to my friend for a few minutes before collapsing into bed. I navigated to my contacts, barely paying attention as my thumb hovered over the call button. My brain was running on autopilot, too drained to register what I was doing. I pressed the button and brought the phone to my ear, listening to the dial tone. But something was off. The number didn't seem familiar, though I couldn't put my finger on why. Maybe I had misdialed? I pulled the phone away from my ear, squinting at the screen. The digits weren't the ones I had intended to call. I didn't recognize this number at all. A strange unease settled in my chest. I was about to hang up when the call connected. Silence. At first, I thought no one had picked up. But then, after a few seconds, there was a sound, faint, crackling, like an old radio struggling to catch a signal. The noise was uneven, distant, as if the person on the other end was in a place where the reception barely existed. I hesitated. Hello. More static. A low hum. And then a voice. We've been waiting for you. A chill ran down my spine. The voice was distorted, layered, as if multiple people were whispering in unison. It was neither welcoming nor familiar, but worse than that, it felt wrong. Like the voice of something pretending to be human, but failing to get it quite right. My pulse quickened. Who is this? No answer. Just breathing. Slow, deliberate breathing. I swallowed hard. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. My thumb hovered over the end call button, but for some reason, I hesitated. Something about the call, about the voice, felt like an invitation. Like the moment I had answered, I had unknowingly stepped into something I wasn't meant to be part of. Then the voice returned, clearer this time. You shouldn't have called. My skin prickled. My throat went dry. I yanked the phone away, staring at the screen. There was no caller ID, no number, just a black void where the contact name should have been. That was impossible. Even if it was a blocked number, there should have been something, a notification, a country code, anything. But there was nothing. Just empty space. A cold weight settled in my stomach. I pressed the end call button. Nothing happened. I tapped it again. Still nothing. The screen flickered for a brief second, and my reflection stared back at me from the dark glass. But something was off. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. The phone slipped from my grip, hitting the floor with a dull thud. And in the silence that followed, I heard it, soft, barely above a whisper. Not from the phone. Not through the speaker. From behind me. I froze. My breath caught in my throat as the whisper brushed against my ear, faint but unmistakable. We've been waiting for you. I whipped around so fast I nearly tripped over my own feet. My room was dimly lit, the only light coming from my bedside lamp and the faint glow of my phone screen, now lying face up on the floor. Nothing. The air was still. My door was shut. My curtains undisturbed. Everything was exactly as it had been just moments ago, except for the feeling, that suffocating, heavy presence that clung to the air like static electricity before a storm. It was the same gut-wrenching sensation of being watched, except this time I wasn't sure if it was just a feeling. I swallowed, forcing myself to breathe. You're just tired. Your mind is playing tricks on you. Slowly, I crouched down and picked up my phone. The screen was still on, still stuck on the call. The timer continued counting, as if the line had never disconnected. 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Almost 3 minutes. I pressed the end call button again. Nothing. I held the power button, but the screen didn't respond. My reflection still hovered faintly in the darkness of the glass, but this time, I refused to look at it. Instead, I tossed the phone onto my bed, turned on my overhead light, and exhaled sharply, shaking off the eerie sensation creeping up my spine. It was just a prank call. A coincidence. Some glitch with my phone. That's all. But then, why did my room suddenly feel different? The air was colder, just slightly. The shadows at the corners of my room looked deeper. I swore the clock on my nightstand had ticked just a little too slow, like time itself had lagged behind for a fraction of a second. And then my phone buzzed. The screen lit up, vibrating violently against the bedspread. I grabbed it hesitantly, my stomach twisting into knots. No caller ID. I stared at the words, pulse hammering in my ears. The call from before had never officially ended, but now my phone was ringing again. Except this time, it wasn't me calling them. They were calling me. The air felt suffocating now, like the walls were pressing in. Every logical part of my brain screamed at me to ignore it, to throw the phone across the room and pretend none of this was happening. But my finger twitched. Against my better judgment, I swiped the screen and lifted the phone to my ear. Silence. A deep, endless void of silence. And then the breathing. Slow. Calculated. Almost amused. You shouldn't have called. The same voice. The same wrongness. But this time, it wasn't just a warning. There was something in the tone, something closer to anticipation. Like they were waiting for me to realize something. Then I heard it. Not from the phone. Not in my head. From just behind my bedroom door. A whisper. Open the door. I stood frozen, my hand gripping the phone so tightly that my knuckles turned white. The whisper, soft, deliberate, had come from the other side of my bedroom door. My breath caught in my throat. My entire body screamed at me not to move, not to make a sound, not to acknowledge whatever was waiting for me out there. I glanced at my phone. The call was still active, for minutes and 12 seconds. The slow, deliberate breathing continued through the speaker, synchronized with the suffocating silence pressing against my door. Open it. This time, the voice came from both the phone and the hallway. I stumbled backward, my pulse hammering in my ears. This isn't real. This can't be real. With trembling hands, I reached for my bedside lamp and twisted the knob, flooding the room with light. It didn't help. The shadows in the corners still felt too deep, too solid, as if they were watching me. I tried to steady my breathing, think rationally. Someone was messing with me. A hacker, maybe? A voice changer? A stupid prank? Yes, a prank. That had to be it. I forced myself to move closer to the door, straining to hear anything beyond it. Silence. The kind that weighed on my chest, thick and unnatural. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 soft, deliberate knocks. Not loud, not urgent, just waiting. I clenched my jaw, every muscle in my body screaming for me to run. But I couldn't. My feet felt rooted to the floor. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Who's there? Silence. The breathing on the phone grew heavier. You know who? My stomach dropped. I took another shaky step back. No, I don't. You called us. My mind raced. I called them? No, that wasn't true. I had called my own number. It had been a meaningless curiosity, a stupid impulse. It wasn't supposed to work, but it did. And now, whatever was on the other side of the door, it thought I had invited it in. The door handle twitched. I choked on my breath, my heart slamming against my ribs. The metal handle didn't turn fully, just shifted, as if someone or something was testing it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab something, anything, to block the door. But I couldn't move. I could only watch as the handle twisted again, slow and deliberate. I backed toward the window. Maybe I could climb out, run to a neighbor's house, call for help. Then, the phone call ended. Just like that. No noise. No click. Just an empty screen staring back at me. The room felt wrong. Like something had changed. Like something was already inside. The silence after the call ended was worse than the whispers. Worse than the knocking. Worse than the slow turn of the door handle. It was the kind of silence that didn't feel empty, but rather full. Full of something unseen, something waiting. I stood there, frozen, my phone still gripped tightly in my hand. The screen was dark now. The call was gone. But I knew it wasn't over. I forced myself to take a step back, toward the window. My fingers fumbled with the lock, but my hands were shaking too much to grip it properly. I felt like I was moving in slow motion, like my body wasn't fully my own anymore. Then I heard it. A creak. Not from the hallway. Not from the door. From inside my room. Right behind me. I turned, too fast, too panicked, but there was nothing. Just my room, looking exactly the same as before. Bed, desk, closet, shadows stretching along the walls, flickering slightly in the dim light. But I knew something had changed. My eyes scanned the room wildly, heart pounding against my ribs. I was gasping now, short, shallow breaths that barely filled my lungs. I didn't hear the door open. There was no way someone had come in. No way something had entered. Except, I wasn't alone anymore. I felt it. That suffocating sensation of being watched, of being too close to something I couldn't see. I turned toward my closet. The door was slightly open. It hadn't been before. A chill spread through me, from the base of my spine to the tips of my fingers. I knew what every part of me was screaming to do. Run, leave, get out now. But I couldn't move. Because a small, quiet part of my mind whispered something even worse. What if it's already too late? What if it wasn't just in my room? What if it was behind me again? Slowly, I raised my phone, using the black screen as a mirror. My breath caught in my throat as I tilted it, just enough to glimpse what was behind me. There, a shape, dark, unmoving, too tall to be a shadow, too wrong to be a person. I clenched my jaw, every muscle in my body locking into place. My mind screamed at me to run, to fight, to do something. But then, the whisper came again. Not from my phone, not from outside the door, not from behind me, from right next to my ear. You shouldn't have called. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Not the kind you get when you turn off the lights. This was deeper, heavier. It felt alive. I couldn't see. I couldn't move. My breath came in shallow gasps, too loud in the silence. My phone was still in my hand, but the screen was black. No service. No light. No escape. And then, a sound. A slow, dragging breath. Not mine. Right in front of me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. The weight of something watching me. The presence pressing against my skin. I wanted to scream, but my throat wouldn't work. My body refused to move. Then, my phone lit up. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to see. A face. No, not a face. Something that had tried to be one. Hollow, sunken eyes that weren't really eyes at all. A mouth stretched too wide, as if it had learned to smile by watching people, but had never understood what it meant. It was inches from me. The whisper came again, curling around me like cold fingers. You called me. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I threw my phone. The second it left my hand, the screen flashed, filling the room with a brief burst of light. Just enough for me to see that I was surrounded. Shadows. Shapes. Figures standing in the corners, crouched in the doorway, pressed against the walls. Watching. Waiting. The phone hit the ground with a clatter, and the light vanished. I ran. Blindly, desperately, crashing into furniture, my hands scrambling against the walls for the door. My fingers found the handle, twisting, yanking, pulling. It flung open. I stumbled into the hallway, my feet barely touching the ground as I bolted for the front door. The air around me was thick, heavy, like I was running through something invisible. Hands brushed against my arms, my shoulders, my neck, grasping but not holding. Not yet. I hit the front door full force. It swung open, and I spilled outside. Light, cold night air, and silence. The weight lifted instantly, like I had crossed some invisible barrier. My ears rang. My chest heaved. I turned back toward the house, expecting. What? To see them? To see it? But there was nothing. Just my house. Dark. Still. Quiet. Like nothing had happened at all. I didn't go back inside. I couldn't. I spent the night sitting on my driveway, phone in my lap, staring at the front door. The battery had died. The screen was cracked. But I didn't dare touch it. Not until morning. Not until the sun had chased away the shadows. And when I finally picked it up, when I finally turned it back on, there was a call in my history. One that I never made. No number. No location. Just a single word. Connected.